Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, that Cuban girl. I hope that you have your cafecito ready to go in your hand and you're ready for a great topic today. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you something that I am currently learning. And I believe that it's a topic that needs to be more talked about because it's something that I don't think you're taught when you're little or when you're a teenager. Today's topic is a little bit weird to talk about, I'm not gonna lie. But I think it's extremely important if you are trying to become more confident, if you want to truly understand the why of things, and if you're truly trying to understand yourself. I highly believe that you are not going to be able to be in a healthy relationship or be successful until you own who you are. I always talk about this, but until you also truly understand yourself and your traumas and the things that you have gone through, which now had made or created this character that you are. And yes, we are all playing characters in real life. And the reason I say this is because we're not the same person we were 5-10 years ago. And I think that today I am sitting here talking to someone or talking to myself, the me that I was 5-10 years ago. That's probably you now. You're probably looking for answers, trying to understand why certain things are happening to you. So today's topic is extremely important, especially if you're a woman, but also if you're a man. I think you could also learn from this video as well. So here we go. Today we're gonna be talking about why some women are afraid to give into their feminine energy. Growing up, I really never knew anything about feminine and masculine energy other than the usual, right? I'm a woman, you're a man, I'm feminine, you're masculine. That's literally all I knew. Also because I grew up in Cuba and it's a whole different culture, right? I think that the US and specifically California where I live is a bit more open to all these other ways of thinking, but also growing up in the 90s, these weren't things that were talked about, I don't think. And it wasn't until very, very recently that I started realizing that, oh my God, this was an issue. And there are a few reasons why this was an issue specifically for myself. And I believe that if you're watching this video, you're here because you also think you might have an issue or a block with your feminine energy. Or if you're a man watching this video, probably you're trying to understand, excuse me, why you always end up talking to or dating women who are very much in their masculine energy. And so today, hopefully this video helps you unpack and understand a little better why this happens. From a woman who's always been very feminine, but at one point in my life, I had to become very masculine. And I'm going to explain now why. A lot of times growing up as women, as feminine energy, we don't choose where we grow up, right? And in my story, for example, I grew up in a household that I did have a male figure, but it was very short-lived. Like it's a long story, but I had a stepdad who, my mom married this person when I was 2, and then they divorced when I was about 8 or 9. I was very little. I remember, of course, but I don't remember like a lot, right? One of the things I do remember and highly made an impact in my life as a child was the fact that this person was an amazing father during the day. He would take care of me. He would take me to the doctor every time. I used to get sick all the time as a little girl, and he would always like take care of me, be there for me. However, he was an alcoholic. So every single day at around 5 or 6 p.m., he would start drinking, and he became just a monster. So me growing up, that was the idea that I had about males, right? Because he was the only male figure that I knew, that I had grown up with. I wasn't close to my grandpa because he was here in the States and I was in Cuba. And so for me, I had a very distorted image of what masculinity looked like. Thankfully, my mom divorced him when I was little. And then after that, it kind of got worse because I had no one. I had no one to look up to that was a guy, a man, right? So that already created, and I understand it now from a psychological perspective, but I never understood it before. But that alone created a lot of confusion in my mind, in my subconscious as a little girl, as to what healthy masculinity should look like. That's one part of it. The second part of it is I grew up with a single mom because after they divorced, right, my mom was single, she never married again. And now it was just me and my mom against the world, right? My mom was never the type to bring men over or anything like that. She's a very respectful woman. So I never had men around really except my neighbors. And, you know, thankfully my mom was always very overprotective. So I was never alone with men, thankfully. But like, I was alone growing up. I didn't have any male figure to look up to. And so in my mind, once again, as a young child and then as a teenager, my mom was such a hustler. She would always, in Cuba, she'd always sell things. She would always make sure that we had food on the table, we had clothes, and we had all the things. And my mom's a go-getter. So for me, that was my image of being feminine, was you gotta work hard, you gotta be a hustler, you gotta have different hustles, right? Which also explains who I am today. You know, I have all these different hustles that I do, because that's what I grew up with and I learned. And so what I realized was a couple of things are happening now, okay? Number one, I didn't have a healthy masculine figure growing up because it was distorted, right? It was very confusing. Good during the day, alcoholic, crazy stuff at night, very confusing. You're good, but you're bad, so it's toxic. So that already creates some sort of toxicity in the way I view men, which should be a whole different video. But the second thing that happened was I had to always look out for myself. Even though I was very dependent on my mom, I always was very independent as well. I had no problem working and making my own money, ever. I had no problem kind of being a loner. Even though I had a lot of friends and I was very social, I never had an issue being a loner, spending time alone, and I don't really. But what that did was I never really knew what a healthy man was. And so for me, having people open doors, like men open doors, or just being really sweet with me, it always felt uncomfortable. And I'm trying not to get emotional. Whew. And I get emotional because I am now understanding where that comes from. And so those little things always made me really uncomfortable. I was always very grateful and appreciative. I'm a very appreciative person, but it always made me uncomfortable. And I still do it to today, and I'm trying to get better at it. And I now, because I understand that's the way the masculine energy should behave towards feminine energy in a healthy way, I let those things happen. Now I kind of expect it, to be honest with you. Does it still make me uncomfortable? Yes, but do I want it and expect it in a man if they're trying to court me or take me out or whatever? Yes, absolutely. I would not take less than that. But now, this is the root of why some women step more into their masculine energy, correct? This is the root. Upbringing, childhood trauma, whatever different situations. There's so many different situations that happen out there as to why women become very masculine, even though they're because for me, I've never been super masculine looking or my energy, but But deep down, the underlying layers, yes, because I always taking care of myself, paying for everything, that's always been me, right? Now, there was a point in my life where I actually allowed, and this is with my last relationship, there was a point in my life where I actually did allow myself to be more feminine. And this was a point where I was living with my ex-boyfriend, and we were having, or so I thought we were having, the best time together, right? And basically, I felt for the very first time in my life that a man was taking care of me, and he was happy to do so. And when I say taking care of me, I want to remind you, this was over the pandemic. So we moved in together because of the pandemic. I had never lived with a boyfriend before, so this was like a total new thing for me. But for the first time, I was like, wow, it feels so good to be loved. It feels so good to have someone, a male figure that truly cares about me. That, you know, we were, like I've mentioned in other videos, we were making videos together, we were traveling together, and I thought in my mind, we're building something together, we are doing all these content together, we're sharing our relationship, we're building something, and eventually in the next couple of years, it's going to bring us revenue, we're gonna be able to help other couples. And this was like my thought process. And to my surprise, I let my guard down, you know, with everything, financially and just everything, right? And then fast forward to a few months, he started basically turning it all around me and pointing fingers at me. And he basically threw all of that on my face. He ended up cheating on me, and he ended up blaming me and saying that it was my fault that he cheated on me, which is actually so comical now that I think about it. He said that it was my fault for being too dependent or codependent on him, and that's why he cheated and blah, 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 blah. And long story short, I was living with him, and he basically asked me for space, and the space turned into, now I have to move out. And it was his apartment, and I was not on the lease, and I had to move out. I ended up couch surfing with my friends. Luckily, and this is why I'm such a girl's girl, and I appreciate my girlfriends so freaking much, because my girls really showed up for me. I was couch surfing with my girls for altogether for about a week, which is not a long time, but when you have 3 suitcases and you're sleeping on a couch and you don't have a home, you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening now, right? It was definitely a wake-up call for me. And then after that, another one of my girlfriends said, you can move in with me. I have an extra room. I ended up moving in with her and her kids for 3 months. And while I saved up and worked and all these things, and then after the 3 months, we decided that we were gonna move in together into a 3-bedroom apartment, moved in with her as a roommate, paying rent and the whole thing. And I lived with her for a year. And she's also one of my dear friends, and I'm so grateful to my girlfriends for that, right? And so this is why I'm telling you the story. I'm not telling you the story for you to feel bad. I'm telling you the story so you understand why sometimes women become really afraid to step into their feminine energy. The reason is, after all of that happened, I promised and I said to myself, I am never letting a man dictate the way I live, or I'm never letting a man control me. I'm never letting a man have such a hold of my living situation, or have such a hold of just thinking that because they're taking care of me, now they can do whatever with me. And mind you, I know that not all men out there are like this. I know that there are plenty of men out there that even though they break up with you, they still want to take care of you and help you, and that's the way it should be. I believe that if you really love someone, or you have share time with somebody, especially him and I were together at the time for 2 years, you know, you don't do that kind of stuff. You don't just leave that person out on the street to, I mean, the fact that he did that, now I even think back at it and I'm like, wow, I had such low self-respect and love for myself for me to even allow that, and for me to even come back to him after he did that to me. This is a whole different video. But the reason why I am now sharing my story on here and sharing these videos with you is because I wish I had done all the work back then when all these things happened. However, I now understand that that relationship was my biggest teacher, and there's a before and an after, and I would never be that person again, because I now value myself and love myself and respect myself, right? And my intention with these videos now is for you to understand that you're not alone in the journey. And a lot of you guys follow me on social media and you see the glitz and glam of, you know, the modeling and blah, 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 all these things. But these are the things that nobody really knew I was going through. And I have a photo, I'm gonna see if I plug it in on here, of the day that I was, when I moved out, and I ended up at my friend Gisendy, shout out to Gisendy, my friend Gisendy's house. And then I left Gisendy's to go to my other friend's house when I moved in with her for the 3 months. I took this photo because I knew that one day I was gonna talk about this in a positive way. And I haven't been ready for over a year and a half or 2 years. This is such a long time ago. I haven't been ready, but now I'm ready. But I now wanna do it in a way where hopefully if you're a woman watching this and you're going through really difficult stuff, just know you're not alone, and know that not everybody out there is bad, and somebody who loves you is never going to do these things to you, even if you guys break up. But that's another video. Anyways, I need to catch my breath. That just made me so emotional because it took me back to that time. No, don't cry, don't cry. That was literally the lowest point in my life. The lowest. This is the lowest that I've ever been in my own personal life, in my own personal journey, and in my journey with somebody else. This was the lowest that I have been. And even though, of course, I experienced wonderful things in this relationship as well, like his family is wonderful. There's just so many things. I don't want anybody who has ever been involved in this part of my life to ever think that I'm being ungrateful or that I'm just talking about the bad stuff. No, I mean, I went back to him after this because of the good stuff, because I believed in the good stuff. So of course there was good things, but this was the lowest point of my life. Even though this was the lowest part of my life and it was very difficult to get through it, extremely difficult. I had literally thought I lost everything. I lost the man that I loved through betrayal, right? Which was like a big stab in the back. Not only that, I had lost my home that I loved. I had lost my daily routines. I had lost who I was. I had built such an identity around this person and doing things together. And we were so intertwined that I walked out of that situation and I had no idea who I was. Fast forward to now, after all of that happened, I stepped into my masculine energy a lot because I said to myself, how can it be that the first time I let somebody genuinely take care of me and pay for things, and you know, I wasn't paying rent, but I was helping with groceries and other things, of course, but how am I, after opening up, allowing the masculine energy that's supposed to take care of me, that's supposed to love me, that's supposed to cherish me, how am I now going to be able to let my guard down again and allow somebody else to do those things for me? And this has been my journey lately, you know, because I've been healing for a long time. And now I'm at a point where I'm finally ready to date again and start getting to know people again. And I have gone on a few dates and I have noticed like, okay, Cece, you have to really understand that not because this one person acted that way, that all men are going to be like that. Because I will tell you something. If you continue to have the mentality, all men are bad, all men are going to do these things to me, all men are going to betray me, all men are not going to take care of me, that is what you're going to attract into your life. And that is what is going to show up to you in your life moving forward. So my advice is not for you to keep thinking that. You need to really work on yourself and work on your mindset and just say to yourself, I will meet someone when the time is right who's going to be so amazing. I'm not going to have to wonder about these things. But this is the main reason why women are afraid to step into their feminine energy, because these are typically women who have had to step into their masculine energy growing up as a kid. Or these are women who let their guard down in a relationship and they were betrayed and they were treated poorly, and now they're like, I'm never doing that again. Today, I live for myself. I am so happy. I take care of myself. I have my own back. I've always had my own back, but I am learning to step back and lean back into my feminine energy without holding resentment and being very aware of where those thoughts and those processes come from. When you're aware, then you can work on it. When you're aware, then you can truly step into your feminine energy without fear, without being afraid that somebody else is gonna do the same to you. That is not the right mindset to go into anything in life. I am a big proponent of women being independent. I'm a big proponent of, sure, you're with me, you wanna help me, you wanna pay for some stuff, that's fine. But I'm a big proponent of not depending on a man. Do not depend on a man. And this is not me trying to be a feminist. This is just me empowering you to go out there and really step into your power and really step into your greatness and truly step into the person that you were born to be. You were born to be amazing. I always say this, but women are the most powerful creatures in the world. We look at men sometimes and we put them on this pedestal, but guess who gives birth to men? We do. Women do. We can literally create 10, 12, 20 men if, I don't know who's had 20 kids, but I think we technically could, right? So stop putting men on a pedestal. Respect men, because we both need each other. It's not about being a feminist, but it's about understanding how fucking powerful you are. You're so powerful. You give birth to human beings and you are a woman. So start acting like a woman. Have your own back. Yes, be feminine, lean back, let them treat you, let them do whatever men are supposed to do. And if you're a man watching this video, highly doubt it, but if you're a man watching this video, the reason why this woman is not stepping into her feminine energy is also could be because you don't make her feel safe enough to do so. Think back on the things that you're doing or the things you're not doing to make this woman feel safe. When a woman feels safe, she'll open up to you. Because I did it. I felt safe. I opened up. I let my guard down, right? And then it bit me in the ass. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to open up again to somebody else who's now have more discernment and I have more awareness of these things. Yes, if I see that this person's safe and is treating me correctly, I am going to open up to them. But what are you doing as a man that is not allowing this woman to step into her feminine energy? And if you see her not stepping into her feminine energy and your healthy masculine energy, then you need to make her treat her with love or talk to her. I'm a huge advocate for healthy communication. Express what you feel in a healthy manner. Say something like, I know you have probably gone through stuff and that's why you're so guarded. But I want you to know that you're safe with me. I want to protect you. I want to take care of you. I want to give you love. Taking care of a woman is not necessarily taking care of her financially. In fact, I wholeheartedly believe that a good woman, she's going to be able to take care of herself, and sure, she's going to allow you to take care of her financially if that's what your dynamic is. There's nothing wrong with that. But a good woman is going to want you to before you even take care of her financially, you take care of her heart. You show her love, appreciation, and you treat her like a woman. Because if you're not treating her like a woman, she's not gonna feel safe to open up to you. So my advice to anyone watching this is try to understand where this person comes from. We are our own world, and we have gone through so much, and I'm in my 30s and I've gone through so much, and people that you meet have gone through so much, even if they are young, right? Try to understand where they come from before you get defensive about the way that they are. So this has been today's video. It's been a little bit long. Hopefully I can edit it and make it a little shorter, but I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something or you could relate to it. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and it helps me know that you are relating and liking this kind of content that I'm creating. And always remember to lead with your heart, but also to think straight thoughts. Because the heart can be deceiving, but definitely always lead with your heart and become the best version of yourself. That's my wish to you. I love you. I'll see you next time in the next video. Ciao.